What is good, gentlemen? We are back. NFL football is back. More importantly, we're going to be talking through Dynasty rookies today. Now that we have the draft in the rear view, at least the parts that matter for our top 12 here, we are going to be talking through it 1 through 12, going through landing spots, what I'm thinking about these guys, etc. Really exciting stuff through this year's draft. Super exciting round one, interesting day two. So we'll talk all about it here and can start off with the guy that you see on your screen right now, Jeremiah Love. Obviously, we knew pre-draft he was going to be our Dynasty 101 in rookie drafts, even in Superflex. He gets better draft capital than we were even anticipating, like 103. I heard the rumors to the Cardinals. I didn't think they would actually pull the trigger and do it, but that's a separate conversation. I think it's a pretty wild pick by them just based on how bad the team is. Going running back there is crazy, especially when you spent money on Algier. Rip to the Algier guys. I know I advertised him as a buy earlier this offseason. I still stand by it. I think the process was right, but Love is there. It doesn't really matter where he was going to go. He's a beast. Obviously, we know all about the prospect profile. I'd say he's obviously still the clear 101 in rookie drafts, but might be a little bit of a slower start year one just because of the other guys in that backfield. I don't think he's going to be like a backup or anything, but other dudes are going to get touches. So I think you may have to wait a little bit for like the super explosive Jeremiah Love. But still obviously 101. He's like a generational running back talent, so not much more to say there. Now we're going to move on. Number 2, Carnell Tate. Also really awesome draft capital. Did not think he was going to go up this high at number 4. He is an instant wide receiver 1 in Tennessee. I think that's the first sort of point here. They're obviously drafting him to be that due to the 104 draft capital there. Tate, we don't need to talk about the player. He's really good, fluid route runner. I think that the Tennessee landing spot is actually a little bit underrated. I am a Cam Ward believer, and I think that he can definitely turn a corner in year 2, right? Like they're doing what they can to get him weapons. Do you know if he's the guy yet? Definitely not based off of year 1, but you got to give him a fair shot, and they're definitely doing so. They have an actual offensive coach in there now, not the shit show they had last year. Brian Dable will get things at least competent. Wan'Dale Robinson, they gave him a bunch of money. He'll operate underneath in the slot, and now Tate on the outside. And I believe in Ward, man. So I think Tate, he's the clear wide receiver 1 out of this tier of kind of our big 3. And I really like the spot for him. And I think, you've seen in the past, Brian Dable, he's not afraid to feature a rookie receiver, too. He did it with Neighbors just 2 years ago in New York. So really excited for Tate, and he's definitely wide receiver 1 and 102 in this rookie draft. So really, really high value guy here. Love the spot for him. Number 3, I'm going to buck the draft capital trend very slightly. Got Mekhi Lemon here. He was my pre-draft wide receiver 1. I think he just translates the best to fantasy, especially in PPR. With the way that he, operates in the slot, inside out, will definitely be a big third down, kind of move the sticks type of guy, which I really value in fantasy. Went third out of the 3 receivers, but I love the landing spot for him. I think obviously this puts the nail in the coffin that A.J. Brown is going to be traded. I know everyone has, talked about it like it's going to happen. It's kind of going to happen. The way that Philly and New England both operated, shows that this is going to happen in June. Philly also traded up to get Lemon. He was going to be a Steeler. He was actually on the phone with their GM, which is kind of crazy. And then Philly just swooped in. So that was pretty wild. Tough look for Steelers, but love the landing spot. I think he's going to be, a day 1 starter alongside Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith more kind of operating on the outside, Lemon on the inside, kicking out at times. He can do both. So it'll be interesting to see, what happens here with this Eagles offense. I think, kind of the naysayers for this would be like, hey, Philly never throws the ball at a high clip. But I don't know, man. I mean, they spent their first 2 picks on pass catchers. So maybe with the new OC, Sean Mannion, coming in, they're going to let Jalen Hurts let it rip a little bit more, which, when they were at their best under Kellen Moore, that's kind of what they were doing. So definitely really excited for Lemon, and I think he could easily be the best out of these 3 receivers in year 1. I just love the landing spot. So I have him here 3 over Tyson, who's at 4. Again, really like this too. I think like the overarching point for the big 3 wide receivers who we talked about all winter, like they all got great landing spots, which I'm really happy about because I like all 3 prospects. All 3 avoided the plague of the Browns and Jets, which I was scared of, and the Dolphins too. Honestly, those were the 3 that were scary, and we avoided all 3. So that's a win, just in terms of someone who likes watching good players play on good teams. But Tyson, again, like he, the story on him obviously is the high floor, the the high ceiling, lower floor maybe, just due to the injury stuff. But great draft capital at 108 for the Saints. He started to shoot back up boards after his pro day workout thing that he had a week or two ago, where he looked full speed, no issues with the hamstring, which is all teams I think really wanted to see. Clearly the Saints valued him very highly. This also signifies like this is a commitment to Tyler Shuck too. You're getting him another weapon. So it's exciting. It's definitely an ascending offense there in New Orleans with a play caller and Kellen Moore, who I really trust. He runs, a lot of pass plays, high tempo, what we like to see for fantasy. So really good stuff there for Tyson. And it could even be a potential long-term Olave replacement. I know Olave was awesome last year and I hope it continues to stay that way. But, again, the concussion thing is weird and they haven't paid him yet. So it's something where, just keep your eyes on that. Tyson could be the wide receiver one in New Orleans sooner rather than later. So definitely keep an eye out. Number 5, we do have Jadarian Price. Now, I wouldn't hate if you had him all the way up to number 2. I wouldn't even be upset with that. Even in a super flex, he gets the primo landing spot, right? Like everyone was dreaming about the Seahawks actually doing this. All the fantasy talking heads wanted them to do this. That's usually not how things actually play out in real life. But this time it did. They take Price, give him the first round draft capital for a running back, which is awesome. They don't really have a guy right now. Zach Charbonnet is hurt. They have a bunch of, forgettable pieces in there. Holani, Emmanuel Wilson, guys that, don't matter clearly now. So Price, I think he'll be getting a good amount of touches week 1, right? Like he's going to come out of the gates and hopefully be some semblance of the guy there. He actually profiles very similar to a Kenneth Walker type, which is pretty funny given the situation. But, Seattle, great offense. Obviously, they just won the Super Bowl. Offensive line setup is awesome. And Kubiak is gone. So, that could be the run scheme taking a little bit of a hit, but that also could be the whole, two running back punch thing could go out the window. So, the whole workload, workhorse possibility for Price is certainly an option here, and it's just a really exciting spot for him. I think he could have a really strong year 1, especially down the back half of the year. So really excited for Price, and I wouldn't hate if you had him all the way up to number 2 in your rookie drafts. If you're running back needy and you really like the fit and the prospect, wouldn't blame you for going for it all the way up to 2. Next is Mendoza. Don't have a ton to say here, right? Like he was the one guy we knew where he was going to end up pre-draft, and he ended up there. The Raiders fit. Obviously, like having the offensive-minded coach. The weapons are still very suspect. I'm surprised the Raiders didn't really go after a wide receiver in this draft, also in the mid rounds. But obviously, you got Brock Bowers there. You got Genty. So it's an exciting group there for Mendoza. I think there's a chance he could sit for the first part of this season with Kirk Cousins in there, or he could start from week 1. I just think that he's going to be like a very pedestrian fantasy quarterback. That's how he kind of projects. Doesn't project to run a ton, and I think he's just kind of average as a prospect. So again, if you're QB needy and you like the player more, I wouldn't hate you going up to 2 to get Mendoza as well. Like, don't have any issue with that. I'm just a little bit lower on the prospect profile, and I think he just kind of profiles more as like a QB2 in fantasy. So still valuable to have, but not jumping over the moon to get him there. And I think he'll be safe. Safe and average is kind of how I think about it, and wherever you value that, you value that. Next up, I have Casey Concepcion. Sucks that he goes to the Browns, man. I mean, you don't want to see anyone end up in that situation, but Casey goes there. He at least gets the first-round draft capital, which is nice. I think he will be getting a lot of the manufactured targets near the line of scrimmage. I think, that will hurt Harold Fannin a little bit, but definitely will operate, I think, as like kind of the day 1 wide receiver 1 there for whatever that ends up being worth. But I like the player a lot. Like, I'm a big fan of KC. It's just a tough landing spot for him. But again, 7 I think is a respectable spot for him. In terms of the Denzel Boston thing, them taking another wide receiver like 10 picks later, I'm not like really concerned about that. They just do very different things, him and Concepcion. Boston more the big body, red zone kind of jump ball type of guy. Casey, operates more as kind of like a true X. He can go inside, he can go outside. So I think he'll definitely be the priority there in the offense. And I like the prospect profile a lot more than I like Boston. So I'm going to trust that here. Not too concerned about the Denzel Boston thing for KC. Okay, number 8, Kenyon Sadiq, good draft capital. He was the one who ate the poison pill of going to the Jets. I wasn't like the highest on Sadiq. I honestly started to cool on him as the draft got closer. So out of anyone to get the Jets outcome, I am not the most upset that it's him. Um, I'm not a fan. Obviously, year one, it's going to be tough. They got Geno in there. He's going to get targets right away, though. So, I mean, hey, there's at least that. I'm going to be largely hands off on Sadiq. But again, he'll be the number 2 target, most likely behind Garrett Wilson right away. And maybe next year, the Jets, they'll probably be bad, so they'll probably be in the market for a quarterback. So there could be a quarterback upgrade that turns things around next year. But just as someone who has watched football my whole life, the Jets, they usually don't figure it out. So we'll see. But that's kind of where things land right now for Sadiq. Can say similar for his new teammate, Omar Cooper. The landing spot is tough. He'll operate as the 2 behind Garrett Wilson. And it's nice at least that he got the first round capital, right? I think it is important to note that stuff. The Jets traded back up in the first round to get Omar. So first round pick, and we'll have to see moving forward. But I think you just got to respect the first round capital in this case and take the shot. I'm just anti-Jets whenever I can, but we'll see what they do at quarterback next year. Obviously, we're gonna eat it this year with Geno. So number 10, Ty Simpson. First, wow, pretty crazy draft outcome. I think for him, my first reaction was this, right? Like, it's crazy. I did not expect it at all. I think it's like the best possible outcome that Simpson could have had, right? You go 13, like that's very respectable QB draft capital. And you go to the Rams, which is like the landing spot. You go to the guy, Sean McVay. But the more that I read into it and the more kind of that trickles out, it's a very weird situation, and I don't know how I feel about it. Like the whole thing with like the press conference was like really strange. Like McVay did not look happy at all that they picked Ty Simpson. They hadn't met before, which I thought was crazy, but I guess that's like a standard thing the Rams do. But I guess the Rams GM, Les Snead, is like very good friends with Ty Simpson's dad, and I think a lot of that is how this came together. So the schism and divide there is pretty interesting to think about. And Simpson, obviously, he's going to sit for at least a year. He's going to sit for as long as Stafford wants to continue playing. But I think it is more evident that like the whole McVay could retire with Stafford thing like could be legit. Like I don't think It didn't seem like McVay had really any interest in Ty Simpson. So the landing spot could be less favorable if the coach who makes it all happen is leaving before he even touches the field. So that's an interesting one. But again, like, even on the chance that he gets to work with McVay a year or two from now, Simpson is worth first-round capital, in my opinion. I don't love the prospect, and I'm shocked that they actually did this. But you gotta respect the landing spot and kind of the potential of what he could become as maybe the next quarterback of the Rams. At 11, I have Eli Stowers, another Philly pass catcher. He fell a little bit further into the second round than some people expected, but I think it's still a good landing spot for him. I wouldn't expect a ton in year one, as Dallas Goedert is still there, but he's clearly a long-term option for Philly. Athletic, pass-catching tight end. So I think this is more just a bet on the talent and the landing spot. I like being in the Philly ecosystem. Like tight ends being in a good offense is kind of like half the battle. So I really like that for Stowers. And I just really like the upside of Philly. And I like the player as well. Long term, would not be shocked at all if he ends up being more valuable than Sadiq. I think Sadiq will definitely outpace him year one just based on like targets and availability. But really interested in Stowers here and having him over some other guys that other people may have a little higher. But like the prospect, like the fit. And yeah, so we're going to look at that one more long term. And at number 12, that's right, I'm going with our boy Dejon Stribling. I cannot pretend I knew who he was yesterday. This picture of him here, he looks just as confused as everyone when the Niners pulled the trigger on him at the 201, the first pick of day 2. After he got picked, like tried to figure out who he was. He was ranked as like the wide receiver 20 on a lot of big boards. Like he was a fringe top 100 guy, but probably still not. So this was a pretty crazy pick. I'm not gonna stand on pre-draft opinions like a lot of other fantasy gurus will try to do. I think that you have to value the capital and the landing spot. Those are ultimately like the top two predictors of success in the league. And the rub on Stribling is that he is a big body, athletic, deep ball receiver. He's 6'2" and ran a 4.36 at the combine, which is pretty interesting. And he ends up in a system with Purdy and Shanahan that is stable, and they put points on the board. That's what they're going to continue to do for the foreseen future. And he is going to be the wide receiver the wide receiver 3 to start out at best, right? Maybe he's even behind a little bit to start the rookie year, but he could get interesting very quick, right? He's one injury away from being very immediately interesting, and he is behind 2 guys that are historically very injury prone. Like Mike Evans, he's getting older and the hamstring is not holding up, and Ricky Pearsall never is on the field. So, really interesting pick here by the Niners, and that's going to close out our top 12. I think just to talk through a couple honorable mentions who I think were close to the top 12 and didn't quite shake it. I mean, they'll probably be round 2 Dynasty rookie picks, but guys that I'm interested in. Obviously, got to talk about Denzel Boston, right? He also got the high round 2 capital. A lot of people would have him here over Stribling, but I just think the Browns thing is tough. I also wasn't a huge fan of Boston's profile as much, so just a tough outcome for him. But again, don't hate it. If you're a Boston guy, I would not be super dismayed by where he ended up. It was early second round, not crazy range wise, different than what we were expecting. Jonah Coleman going to Denver. I know it's day 3, but day 3 running backs sometimes work out. I think it's just a really interesting landing spot because I've been thinking about the fact that I don't think RJ Harvey is the long-term workhorse for Sean Payton in Denver. He usually likes a 2-back system, as we saw last year with Dobbins. Now, they brought back Dobbins for this year. I think that'll probably be the last year of that. It muddies things up for this year. Dobbins always goes down, and I think Coleman could be kind of the big body plotter of the future for Denver, which can be a very valuable role, right? Like Peyton running backs just work. So a lot of people were higher on Coleman. The day 3 capital is tough, but I really like the landing spot for him. So he's an interesting one to keep your eye on. A couple others, just landing spot wise that I liked. It was interesting. People talk about this being a weak draft class, and I think to an extent that is true. But I did see that this is actually the most skill position players that have ever been drafted in the top 100. So it's going to be a little bit of a spray and pray type approach, thinking about landing spot. And some of these guys are going to stick. You just don't really know who they are going to be. So a couple of the other ones I like, Elijah Surratt and Jacoby Lane, they both end up in Baltimore where they are, starving for another receiver alongside, say, Flowers. So those are both interesting. I think those are guys that slipped a little bit lower in the draft than people expected, but, they get into a good offensive ecosystem right away. Similar with Malachi Fields. I wasn't a huge, fan of his, but he ends up in the Giants, who are, desperate for a wide receiver too as well. He's a big body guy, could be a red zone threat right away. So that's another interesting one. And then the last guy that I'd call out, who's one that I actually really like, is Antonio Williams going to Washington. He could step into a wide receiver 2 role right away alongside Terry McLaurin. He's a slot guy, can operate in the short area of the field where Terry operates more intermediate and deep, and could be a good little safety blanket for Jaden, where at least in their previous offensive system there were a lot of short targets involved. That's how Debo ate last year. So I like Williams, and I think it's a really sneaky, interesting fit there in Washington. But yeah, man, football is back. We are back. That's all I got for today. Rookie drafts are going to be starting up, dynasty startups, other stuff. We're getting closer to the season. This is the first time we can really sniff it. So it's exciting stuff. We're going to have more content coming your way. And happy rookie drafting for you.